Welcome back to Her Rules Radio. I'm Alexandra Jameson. You can call me Alex. I'm your coach today. I've been the host of this podcast for quite a few years, and if you're listening in today as a solo show, I've got one specific topic to talk with you about. Do you want to leave your job? Well, you're not alone. I've got 3 things for you to think about and do now. If you are part of what's being called the Great Resignation. I've been a coach for over 20 years to a lot of driven, creative women, and I'm hearing from them what is appearing in a lot of news stories right now. People are unsatisfied. So maybe you're one of these unsatisfied folks. Maybe you want to quit your job. You are not alone. A recent World Economic Forum survey showed that 41% of American workers, and I think that this applies to all of North America and maybe a lot of Europe, 41% of workers are thinking about resigning from their jobs. And listen, almost all of my clients are thinking the same thing. Women in tech and tech sales are re-examining their role, their company, even their entire career paths. Why? Well, listen, we're coming out of a global pandemic, and this COVID pandemic gave workers, it shook things up. It gave some people more free time to think about their careers, to explore entrepreneurship, maybe to save a little bit of money. A lot of people began to realize that their current job was not fulfilling. Or maybe you already knew that, but it became really clear. Maybe you were staying home more, working from home. Things changed. And some people, these management experts, are calling this time the Great Resignation. And that the rise of hybrid and remote work is causing this phenomenon. How we spent our time before the pandemic may not be how we want to spend our time going forward. A lot of people are willing to take the chance now to leave their, quote, secure job, unquote, even if it feels risky, because the pandemic has reshaped how we think about risk. Some of us were exposed to a huge amount of risk and uncertainty and trauma over 2020 and the first few months of 2021. And if you're like many of my tech and tech sales clients, you were finally working from home and, well, you just don't want to go back to the commute and full-time office stress the way you lived before. I had a chat yesterday with a recent guest here from the show, financial behaviorist Jacquette M. Timmons, about the current pivot wave that we're all hearing about. She pointed out that CEOs and heads of companies should not be surprised or blindsided by this. They should have been listening to their employees all along. So here's something to think about. Do you want to leave? Maybe find a better role at a new company, or even finally become an entrepreneur or small business owner because you're pissed and you've been pissed about your company, the leadership, or the industry that you're in? Or did the pandemic finally give you time to examine and prepare to do what you've been thinking about doing for a while, to finally take the leap that you've been thinking about for some time? If you're being reactive to a crappy company or lousy situation that you've been stuck in for a while, you may be overlooking some important considerations. Working for yourself does not mitigate the uncertainty. It does not erase stress to be a small business owner instead of working for a company. In fact, working for yourself, being an entrepreneur, or starting a small business is highly uncertain. It involves a lot of risk. Jacquette and I talked about this for a while. We don't think everyone is cut out to be an entrepreneur. It's not for everyone. And Jacquette had this to say to CEOs out there who might be listening. trying to hold on to the good people they've got or attract new people to fill positions. Why are you having a hard time keeping the people you already have? Where are you being inflexible? People have been giving you clues all along about what they want and what they need. This big resignation wave didn't happen overnight. 2020 just put a magnifying glass on the problems that have been ignored for too long. So obviously, I'm speaking both to leaders and heads of companies, and I'm speaking to people in roles at those companies, like stuff that we all need to be thinking about right now as this massive wave of people want to leave their job for something else. And listen, we also have to acknowledge that many people can't afford to leave their jobs despite burnout or despite the stress. And for those who are just stuck in roles or companies that make them miserable, conversations about moving on and choice can feel very exclusive. And I think acknowledging that and seeing you, hopefully that's helpful to hear. There are also a lot of adults with small kids who can't get vaccinated yet, and parents are scared about the health of their family. And there's a darn good reason for not wanting to be back in the world 100% yet, especially if we don't know or have assurances that the people we're working next to are vaccinated. So if you're thinking about leaving your position, here are 3 important coaching steps that I used just recently to help a client think about and work through and plan through. Number 1, invest the time to know what you want next. Don't just act rashly. If you don't have to make a choice today, give yourself some time and invest your mental capacity to figure out what you want to do next. Pick a month, maybe September 21st, the autumnal equinox. Give yourself the summer season. Get through the next few months to prepare for your next move. Number 2, learn about how to showcase all of your superpowers. What are your skills, your strengths, your values? How have they helped you perform well in your career so far? What do you bring to the table in times of crisis? What they call these soft skills. What soft skills, like creative thinking, can you highlight? And list some of the specific examples of how your creative thinking made you successful or your company successful in the past. Number 3, create relationships with people that are living in the future state that you want. So who has a role or works for a company that you would love to be in? Can you reach out? Do you already know someone, or can a close friend or colleague introduce you? Start a conversation. Offer them something supportive or an introduction that would be valuable to their work. And then ask them questions about how they got to where they are, what makes them successful, and discover what you can develop in yourself to grow into that kind of person. Now, I've got a current client in tech sales who just left a very well-known company to become employee 20 at a startup. She told me that her new company's really excited to have her with all of her experience that she brings from this massive company, but she's starting to have imposter syndrome come up again, even though she's been extremely successful in this past company that everybody knows about, this product that everybody uses. This damned voice of imposter syndrome keeps popping up saying, just wait until they find out the truth about you. So she's stuck in this wanting to make a good impression, and she's not being honest with her new leaders who hired her for her expertise and experience. So it's interesting, even though we've worked together off and on for a few years, I see this happen when driven women, leaders who are making bold moves and they're doing great work, when they make another pivot or when they reach a new level or they endeavor to achieve that next thing, imposter syndrome will pop up again. So I actually find that very relaxing to know that I'm not alone in that. And I share that with my clients. Even my MDs, my PhD clients, my CEO clients, they all have this return of the imposter syndrome. So I returned with her to the values work. That's really a mainstay of my coaching. By the way, you listener, you can go take my values quiz at my website, alexandrajameson.com/values. Go take the quiz. It's the same work I do with my clients. And at the end of our conversation, she realized she had so much to offer this new company as she steps into this new role. And she just has to stay connected to her values, keeping the creative door open. Creativity is so valued in startup culture, and she has great ideas. And she realized she had to stay grounded. Her behaviors, like what she eats, what kind of exercise and movement she gets, and also her downtime, like just reading fluff, actually helps her stay grounded so she can show up to work and do her best work. And then finally, through the values work, we came to something really valuable for her, which was she needs to stick with the hard things. She realized, I can figure out anything. I've got grit. I know I have resilience. I've proven it to myself in the past, and I can figure this out. So I hope this helped you, dear listener, in your time of questioning. And hey, if you have a friend who's thinking about leaving their job, you should share this show with them. Also, look, over the years, I've been in a lot of visible leadership positions, including as a kind of well-being and personal development spokesperson because of my film Supersize Me and writing and publishing books like Radical Alignment and Women, Food, and Desire. And the pressure and scrutiny can be intense, almost unbearable at times. And these days, I use my health coaching experience, my artist practices, my positive psychology training to help emerging women leaders, entrepreneurs, and public figures. And if you think some conversation with me might possibly be helpful, you should reach out. People come to me for all sorts of reasons, including how to navigate challenges, make big decisions, how to surface their values, getting unstuck, feeling less isolated, finding meaning, and improving work and family relationships. I also run groups at times. And if you're curious, don't be shy. We will just talk. And I am fun and nice to talk to, I promise. So go to my link, bit.ly/Coach Alex Now, and grab a spot on my calendar for us to talk. I thank you for listening in. We'll be back next week with an amazing guest to inspire you with their multi-talented, entrepreneurial, creative spirit and their work. I appreciate you listening in. Please share the show with somebody who needs to hear it. And we will be back soon. Mwah! Thanks for listening. Did you like today's episode? You should go leave a review. Hey, it really helps us out. I would so appreciate it. Do us a solid. Go leave a review wherever you love listening to your podcasts. It could be iTunes or Stitcher or Spotify or whatever. Anyway, if you're interested in some coaching with me one-on-one, go on over to bit.ly/coachmealex or go to alexandrajameson.com. And thanks for listening. Totally appreciate you. Be sure to tune in next week for more goodness. See you soon. Mwah.